Welcome back, guys. This is my fifth week of my sophomore spring semester of 2025, and I actually have a lot written down. I have, at least one thing written down for every day of the week. So on Monday, the first thing was that, in the morning when I opened my window, I realized there was a lot of snow falling. Um, you know, and I believe it was actually not expected for it to snow. I could be wrong. Maybe I was lied to, but from what I was told, there was really no prediction that we would have, snowfall. Granted, not even that much snowfall. Um, you know, so when we all woke up and we saw the amount of snow falling down, it was, um, took us by surprise. But basically, when it comes to the classes for math class, we had our third math quiz, and basically the thing is that, we were supposed to take it on Friday, on week four, but because of some errors, they just pushed it back onto Monday of week five instead. And then after that, I had my first management exam. And basically, the story behind that is that we were supposed to have the exam take place on Wednesday of week four, but because of the snowfall, the weather, was just acting up, and so they just had it pushed onto Monday of week five. Now, interestingly, I would say that um, these, comparing both, from Wednesday to Monday, like the amount of snow that fell, I think Monday's was actually worse. But I mean, I assume they did not have the privilege to just push back the exam one more time. Just kind of have to do with what you have now. And so then for Tuesday, the only thing that I really have written down is that um, in my last class, which is accounting, I basically, there is this thing where the professor, you know, will ask us questions about stuff that is in the workbook, and we will have to solve them and whatnot. And then he will go around in class with a microphone to some random student, could be anyone, and he'll give them the microphone, and they have to answer the question, and basically in front of the class, but they're at their own seat. And so there is this thing where once a week, um, there will be this question that when a student gets it right, they receive money for it, for getting it right. And for every student who gets it wrong, $2 extra are added. So the first, you know, student could receive $2, and if they get it wrong, then the price goes up to $4, then eight, six, and then eight, and however much until somebody gets it right. Um, and basically, and again, yeah, nobody really knows besides the professor when this question will be asked. It could be anything, any question, and you never know. And so for, on Tuesday, pretty much, um, the question landed on me, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that, there was $2 on the line for me to, get this question right. Um, but basically, the thing was that at first I was a bit confused on how to answer the question because, I initially wrote it one way, and then I looked back and I was like, that doesn't seem right. So I wrote it a different way. But then when, the professor came to ask me, and, they kind of somewhat, explained from what perspective the question is supposed to be answered by, I was like, oh, so technically it's the first way, that I did it. I did it correctly the first time, not the second time. And I just ended up using what I had, done before, and, I ended up getting it right, pretty much. Which, granted, I don't think there's anything else I could do. I don't think there is a, you know, timeline where I could just get it wrong. Like it's, you're doing this in front of the entire class, you have to get it right. You just have to. Okay. It's not time to be wrong. Okay. This is not the time to get the question wrong. You have to just get it right now. Okay. Get it right now. Um, so yeah. But then, as I was leaving the class, I realized, I walked out and the snow fall, it was getting worse. Okay. I was like, hmm, okay, no. The snow, it's falling down, a lot. It's very much falling down hard. That doesn't look good, but it's whatever. I'm heading home. I don't have to deal with it. And so then on Wednesday, um, either it was Tuesday late at night or I believe it was Tuesday late at night. We received in message saying that Wednesday classes will be canceled. Okay, they will only be able to be held, through the internet. We can't go, have these classes be in person. They just simply cannot be. Okay, you're breaking the rules if you was out here forcing your students to come into class. So you can only do it through the internet. And so that is very interesting because, during Wednesday of week 4, that exact same thing happened where classes got canceled on Wednesday. And so on week 5, classes got canceled on Wednesday because of the weather. It was snowing too much. So I found that very interesting. But I also, love that very much. I'm glad that stuff's, ended up happening. And so then basically for Thursday, that was when I had my first math exam. And, when I was doing it, it felt simple. I didn't feel like, oh, I don't know what these questions are asking me about. Like, I was like, well, no, I do remember this. I remember learning it. I remember doing it. So I have a good idea of what to do. So, that was great. For Friday, I just had my accounting lab, because we had that exam, for math. Of course, they weren't going to have us attend, math class on Friday. They have to take that time to grade the exam. And so for Saturday, there's no classes, but I still have a job. And basically, we open from 4 to 10, and in the beginning of the shift, I realized the job that I was doing, there was no one else around. 'Cause typically, with the job that I did, there's typically 2 people. You know, but there are times where there can only be 1. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it didn't. Okay, for like 2.5 hours, there was no one else, and towards the beginning of the shift, it does get quite busy. So it's typically the beginning and then in like middle, around like 6 to 7 when it gets really busy. And so that was exhausting. Luckily, people did, you know, clock in eventually, but you know what? Better late than never, I guess. Um, and so I don't have a therapist. I don't. Okay, that's the truth. But well, actually, I probably do. I probably could, be able to speak to someone, but I'm not going to. I don't have the time, and so I don't have someone to talk to who's gonna, who does that sort of stuff professionally. But if I did, they would get, they would be getting paid a lot, for the stuff that was happening on Saturday. I do not know why they would allow that sort of thing to happen to me, but I guess, perhaps maybe that's just how it was scheduled, or maybe some people called in saying, hey, I won't be able to come in to work today. I don't know but I didn't like it. And so then, lastly, on Sunday, pretty much, my family came, to visit me here. And that's been planned for a while, I believe since week 3. And, every time they had to cancel it because, there was something happening. And, luckily on week 5, well, week 6 technically, they were able to finally, come and visit me here. And, they pretty much just brought me a lot of food, which is always great. Food from home is going to be always better than food from school. I would think that given that this is a university and a very, expensive university to get into and whatnot, that the food would be better. And I mean, I guess it is better than the kind of food that you get from public school, back when I used to go to public school. But it's not better than home. Okay, it's not better than the food you get from home. And you'll learn that quite quickly. Um, it's a unfortunate thing, but that's just the case. But and I didn't write this down, but also on Sunday after my parents left, I went to go get some water from the water fountain, just refill my, um, bottle of water. And when I was there at the water fountain, I saw this dog, somebody's dog, just pressing against the button of the water fountain and drinking from it. And, I don't get my water from that part of the water fountain, but that was quite, um, I, no. um, but anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all I have written down. And, if my memory serves me right, I'm not forgetting anything that I would feel the need to say here. Um, but yeah, well, that should be it for week 5. So, thank you guys so much for watching.